If we reject ourselves, we are in a state of confusion. How are you going to figure out the dilemmas that face you in life if you reject yourself? We have a so-called war situation in the Persian Gulf. And one thing that we know as African people is that we must study our history. And in studying our history, we know that we are always disproportionately represented in the military. We also know that we're disproportionately represented because we're economically oppressed, and usually we end up there trying to make a dollar to survive. The Army says be all that you can be. And in America, for a lot of black men, that is all that they can be.
I've been watching a lot of Sister Souljah, and I was at this Kwanzaa event, and one of my friends was just like, I wanted to marry Sister Souljah when I was younger, and I thought that was funny. So after that, I had to reacclimate myself with Sister Souljah, and even though I was around, I was of age at the time. I was probably like, God, when she was doing all of these interviews, etc., I was like a preteen teenager, and I missed the whole Sister Souljah thing. Like, I only knew her with respect to just being down with Public Enemy. I really did not watch Donahue. I didn't watch any other of these shows at that point in my life. And so, anyways, the running joke with me now is I want to marry Sister Souljah.
That how you design those programs. In all of the programs that I attended, all of the education that I had, college, public, and otherwise, nobody ever told me that I was an African woman. Nobody ever told me what the history of African people were. Nobody ever told me that America is business, and without business you will have nothing and be nothing. And nobody ever told me how to organize business so that I would be able to develop institutions in my own community. So now the sincerity of all of the programs and all of the education has to be questioned, indicted, and convicted, because the bottom line is that America is not and has never tried to produce African adults who are functional, self-sufficient, who understand their politics, their economics, and their relationship to the world politics and the world economics.
She is boss, and just a phenomenal woman who just really spoke truth. And I appreciate how candid and how unapologetic she was.
African women cannot take their definition of womanhood from a white feminist movement that's divorced from their African women have got to be wise enough to formulate their own strategies and their own beliefs and their own understanding and their own philosophy. Now, it is interesting to me that in the white feminist movement there seems to be a lot of hostility against men. Now, I would be mad if I were a white woman, and I would be mad if I had to sleep with the devil every night.
In her presentations, and even the most recent one where she was speaking at a church, I thought that was amazing and emotional for me. I really appreciate it. I think there's something to be said about women who take the forefront and speak out like she did. I think there's something powerful, magnificent, it's like a star in the sky came down and touched the ground. It's the most beautiful thing in the world to see women, African women, really tapping into that ability to really lead. And let me tell you, and she said it in one of her videos, when an African woman takes the position.
And I can tell you, as a young girl, when I first began to publicly stand up and speak out, that when people see that feminine power, boy, they want to run and they want to hide. They are afraid of it. And women are also intimidated. Because when you see a powerful woman, it ups the ante. It means that it's not enough to be just cute anymore.
Sister Souljah, and any woman like her, who really speaks on behalf of African women with such vigor and truth. And it's just emotional. It's just emotional to see her. And I hope to one day grow up to be like Sister Souljah. Just like I want to marry her. And I don't have to say no homo. She's just a magnificent example of the type of leadership, the type of I think path that we want our young women to take with regards to acknowledging and knowing who they are as an African woman, their relationship to racism, white power, and as African people, your relationship to racism, white power, and what it is. And it's funny because I'm looking at some of her videos, and let me tell you, I'm looking some of the stuff that I said of myself. I'm looking at some of her videos, and I'm just like, oh shit, I said that the other day.
So it's not that we haven't tried to own lands and have not organized businesses. It's that if you are African in America or in Latin America or in the Caribbean or in the continent, you will be hunted no matter what you do, because they do not want us to survive and become self-sufficient.
And the things that I have said, things that I have realized, were realized before me and was probably realized before her. And you know, for us to say the same things, and this is before I even watched the piece, I feel like, you know, there's other people out there who realize the same thing as well, and it's time for women, African women, to really come to the forefront and not be apologetic and not be liberal and be very be very candid and be very frank with what it is that we are, what it is that we want, and not just as African women. I think the role of the African woman is to uplift the entire people, and it's not about getting stuff for African women. It's not about getting stuff just for us on some feminist shit. It's about being an African woman and being an African woman for her people. It's always been about the upliftment of all African people, because we carry and we extend and we continue traditions, we continue life. Souljah, and just that idea, I think that I can run with it. I think that it's very important that African women really recognize their role, and as a member of a movement, of a revolutionary organization, I think it's disheartening to see that a lot of young women aren't really taking leadership roles. It's disheartening to see that women my age, I mean, I'm going to be 33 in July, but a lot of women my age aren't really, you know, they're bogged down with certain things, you know, family, man things, life, whatever else, and we can't find our proper place in being revolutionary. And you know, I will never call myself a revolutionary. I think that's for other people to decide if I'm a revolutionary or not. So I'm just going to say that I'm a part of a revolutionary organization, and the work that I do is a part of that revolutionary work. And I would hope to one day that the work that I do can be revolutionary in some way. But every now and again, my daughter gets me into a state where I'm just like, listen, and I'll just bang it out, and I think that she's not listening. And then one day, she'll come like, Mommy, you know what happened? She'll come back with the stuff that we talked about. Back to being an African woman, and our role in this revolutionary work is very important. It's very, I think we need more sisters to really, I mean really in a real way, come to the forefront. Because like Sister Souljah said, when you are a powerful African woman, it tells people to step their game up.
But if we don't want to acknowledge as women that power is within us. If we don't want to break the tradition of listening to and following bad advice, if we don't want to create standards that are non-negotiable for our men, if we don't want to teach our sons how to use both their masculine and feminine intuition, if we don't want to do this, then we might as well just deliver our children to the hands of evil.
You look at these women, you're like, yo, I want to be like this sister, right? Yeah, she is powerful. All the presentations that she did that have been put on YouTube right now and allowing for me to see it now and in my ripe old age, right? And I appreciate what she had to say. It's a lot of, the thing is that a lot of what she says, and maybe I have to ask the chairman about this, but a lot of what she says is definitely in relation to a lot of what the party stance is with regard to African people, African women, the world in general, and how, we relate to other people. And I just appreciate that coming so strongly out of the mouth of an African woman. And I hope that one day she writes a book, not a story, but a book about the ideas that were in her head and really compile something, that really speaks to African women. I think that we need a book like that. And not like an autobiographical way, but like a blueprint for Black Power type of thing for African women. I think that would be important for young African women to read, and for old heads like me to read, and for people coming up, and Black men and African men to read, and whoever else. I think that it's important, and I just love her. I love her. But anyway, that was too long.